Hi, we're back again, putting the finishing touches on Louis. Last week we put his nose in, some of his facial hairs. In the meantime, I kind of worked on the background. We got a nice kind of metallic glow to the background, which is exactly what I wanted, because he will inevitably pop out because the metal background is going to be shiny, but him being of a natural color will naturally come out. It's going to be an interesting fusion. Anyway, we're going to do the rest of his body today. I'm going to start off with the front, and let's get going. There's a nice little white area in his chest area. I'm going to make sure I have to be very careful about that, because if I make a mistake and overwork some of the aspects of color, it's going to be lost. I have to be very careful of that. It's not as easy as you'd think. It's not just simply sitting there and painting away. There's so many things you have to be careful about. And this dog, he changes. He already in 6 months that he's been around, he's a full year now. He is bigger. His color has changed. I think the summer has a lot to do with that too. The more sun he sees, the color on his hair changes. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm working on puppy photographs, and some of those are really fun because the coloring on him was so vivid. And I'm really stuck on the hair of a dog when they're puppies is incredible. It's vibrant, it's shiny, the coat is so shiny. Most dogs, as they get older, their coat gets a little bit dull. It's not as vibrant as when they're puppies. So now we're going to do the chest area. We're going to put a couple of hairs. I have to make sure there's a great departure from his neck to this area. It's very obvious, and I don't want him looking like his head is twice the size of his body. The angle I took this photograph, his head was going over his body. Sometimes the angle is something you have to compensate for. I think it'll still work. I'm still going to work with the background a little bit, and I'm going to diminish the size of his head inevitably. Not yet, but I will. I think once I get a lot of the color in, he'll be fine. Right now you see a lot of white where his body is. I work differently than most artists. Most artists paint everything at once and they work their way out. I like to get the face done first. Very important to me to get the personality of the person, of the dog, whatever. I want the personality to shine. Every artist has a different way of approaching a subject. With Louis, he's a natural because his personality just dominates everything. So we're going to do this area first. Notice I'm taking the dark and I'm making it a little bit lighter. I think I made that dark just a little bit omnipresent. I want it not to be so important. So I'm going to really reduce the amount of texture in it. I also think this area where his jowl comes in, a little bit too dark for my taste, so I'm going to work it down just a bit. I think when I'm done doing this painting on the air, I'm going to have some time to myself and I'll put some highlights, some color highlights. He's the type of dog that when he walks into a room, his coat absorbs the color of the room. For instance, if he walks into a room where there's blue carpeting, there's going to be blue tinges in his fur. If he walks into a room where there's a lot of black, his fur becomes dark. If he's outside, he becomes white, just vibrant white. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when I get the whole body in. I'm using a very long, thin brush tonight. What I'm basically doing is emulating the length of his hair. And it's actually very smart to do this. If you paint each stroke of color to match the type of shape the hair is, you're doing two things at once. You're putting the color in, which is number one, but you're also at the same time acknowledging the shape of the hair. So it's quite smart to do it this way. A lot quicker, and it's a lot, I don't know, to me, it's doing two things at once. All right, now I'm going to go to a color that's a little bit brown, gray, and white, and yet there's a tan in it. Because underneath this part, he turns a bit, and I want to show that turn, but obviously it's not going to be as light as the previous color, so we're going to darken this up just a bit. And again, I'm still using a long, thin brush. When I get to his feet, I'm not going to draw individual pieces of his paw. There's hair over all of it, so that's a great thing. Don't have to go into the detail of all the little intricate muscles, the digits of his toes. Don't have to do that. It's just a mass of hair. Now, some people would prefer to draw the legs, individual feet. I think the hair is more fun. I think it's kind of fun to imagine what's underneath all that. And it's a lot, there's something to be said about fooling people with making their minds supply the hidden information. Let them think that what they see there, let them think that there's something behind all that hair. It's a great way to involve the viewer, and it's a lot less stress on the artist. It's kind of fun. It's misdirection. We're getting there. Now, the chest area is very white. I have a big supply of white paint, and yet it's not white. It's really still strands of hair. So I'm going to put white in here. But what I'm going to do, once I've done the white, I'm going to go back over that with different shades of brown, tan, and supply the individual elements of follicles to show people, no, it's not just a big clump of white. There's all a little assortment of hair going on. So I'm putting that white in first. This is going to be fun too, because what you're going to do is you can see the hair growing. I don't want to make it overtly white, because this dog, no dog is, there are some dogs that are white, but if you look closely, there's all sorts of variations in each strand of hair. Here we go. There's also elements of shadow, and like I said previously, every time he walks into a room, different colors just jump off of him. He takes on so much of any room that he walks into. It's kind of weird. We're going to do a little bit of hair coming in off the top, individual strands. And this does a lot to show the breakage. Individual little follicles are cool. I got to make this wetter. Remember what I said before, the studio lights dry. This is acrylic paint, and it's water-based. And every time a dry light hits it, it dries right in front of me. So I'm forever making sure the brush is wet. I'm forever making sure individual follicles emerge. Here we go. I'm going to try to make some of this brown turn grayish too. I don't want to give the impression that he's all blondish looking. Some of his hair is just little bits of shade. I got a little bit mixed up. I pre-mixed a lot of colors So don't ask me which color is which. I've done so much mixing. I never use paint straight out of a tube. I mixed very many variations of every color. There is no such thing as color right out of the tube. Nothing that you see, it'd be hard to believe that any color you see is exactly what you see out of a tube. You have to blend just to get it just right, I think. So we're going to divide the dog in half. That's what we're going to do. We're going to sever him in half right now. I'm going to divide him in half, do the first half of him right in the first episode and the second half in the next episode. Now, we have to be very careful. I'm going to dissect it right here. He's got a very thick coat of white in his chest, so I have to be very careful. I'm also going to blend in bits of brown, bits of grayish tone. Here we go. I think I'll go with this side today, since I happen to be here anyway. The trick is not to make one color dominant. He, like I said, is one of those dogs that picks up light from every corner of the room. And you're also going to be hard pressed. You want to show dimension. You want to show one part of the leg sticking out. So you're going to make that part lighter. I'm going to make, for instance, the other part that you have to acknowledge is the fact that underneath these hairs, there's a dark mass of hair, and the light hair pops out of the dark. You have to show that. Otherwise, it's very boring. So here we go. I'm going to do a ridge of dark. I know it all sounds confusing, but I think once you see the end result, you'll immediately go, oh yeah. I wish it was that easy. That's one of the reasons I don't like books on drawing or painting. They make it sound so much formula, and trust me, it's not that way. I've had more people confused and frustrated by trying to follow the instructions in a book. I always say it's so much better to have somebody teach you how to paint or draw by watching them right in front of you. A book can supply you with a lot of information, but there's nothing more important than having somebody actually do it right in front of you. I basically I was painting when I was a kid and drawing. I didn't know what I was doing. A lot of my stuff was hit or miss. I learned a lot more technical information when I went to college. I got a degree from the University of Hartford, and I have to tell you, I learned from the best. And again, not so much about how to paint or draw. I was doing that when I was a kid. But what? The information about what makes a good painting, what makes a good drawing. You can't put that into a book. You have to listen to people. You have to absorb little bits of information. You have to basically gather from them what is a vital thing. And of course, you're surrounded by a situation where the world's always changing. What was vital and important one day is going to be dull and not important the next. So you have to pretty much develop your own set of standards. For instance, lately I'm a little bit angry at certain art leagues. I spent my whole life developing my style of painting, and all of a sudden now you can put your artwork in a place to display, and you're not going to win contests because as of this moment your style is considered passé. It's boring. I still say traditional art is still the backbone, and any style, any movement is passing. It might be hot, it might be something that's going to tweak the interest of a lot of judges, but that too shall pass. And I stick to my guns. I still say a good portrait is still the best thing going. And even a good painting of a dog, if it's recognizable, if you capture the personality, I don't care what they say, that's still the best thing. And I do everything. I can do realism. I could do, I do exclusively realism, but as far as subject matter, I could do people, animals. There's no end to that. The only thing I can't do is modern art. And I'm not apologetic about that. I don't see the validity of it. It's boring. It leaves me cold. I don't feel fulfilled when I do a painting that can be interpreted 10 different ways. All right, so we're doing, if you could see, you can almost see a passage of one coat of hair to another. We're going to make it lighter now. And the next one, the hairs are going to be much longer. That's the aim. We're trying to make them longer. Here we go. I try to make this so each individual hair has a presence, as opposed to something like a leg or... That's cool too, but I really like having the whole package. You'll see in the end. Right now, it's very hard to grasp what I'm saying. Once you see the whole package, you might get a better grasp. All right. I might have to use a brush that's a little bit longer. I have several here. So let's go with this guy. Oh, I think I like this one better. Here we go. Sometimes they could be all the same structure. They could be long and thin, but one might have just a little bit more substance to them. That's what we're going to try to do. Here we go. Individual hairs. This is really the essence of any decent drawing of animals. You don't just try to do en masse, big clumps of information. You try to do individual pieces and have them meld together. I find that to be a lot more fun. I want to get one leg in for one episode and the other leg in for the last episode. Now, this is the cool part. I'm actually going to have some of these hairs go over the side. So, in other words, you can see that some of these hairs are actually going to break the outline. I like that a lot. It's not going to be just an outline. It's going to be an outline that's broken. And the hairs are going to break it. I like that for the sake that a dog like this, his hair is so fluffy. If you were to try to package it and contain it, it wouldn't show the true spirit of the dog. But if you do it this way, have some of the hairs pop over the edge, it really shows him more. I'm doing it right there. Now, the trick also is when I'm all done with this, I'll probably have to put more highlights in. For tonight, I'm just going to be happy to get a lot of information in. The last thing I'm going to do is really finish the whole package, putting highlights in. Like I said about the color, when he walks into a room, I'm going to put highlights into his face, little shocks of blue, little shocks of green. It's really fun to see him change right in front of you. I like when each hair has a quality. Let's go back to this guy. I think I'm going to actually use a big fat brush to get some of these things going. Because what I got here is a situation with some of the small brushes are great. They're great at putting individual elements in, but they're also quite slow. You don't get the whole package quickly. So what I'm going to do is try to get more big packaged equipment done and use a small brush to put individual elements in. It does make sense in a weird way. You could do it the old-fashioned way, which is draw each hair individually, but it would be time-consuming and it would be boring. What I'm going to do tonight is try to get as much information as I can in and use a small brush, the thin one, to put individual hairs in to show you what I'm talking about. It can be done. It's just not the way I normally do it. I normally take my darn sweet time and do each individual hair. It's still going to be quite plausible. It's not the way I normally do it, though. So here we are. We're approaching one leg halfway done. And we're just doing a little bit more on this. I'd like to see more of it before we're approaching near the end of one segment. I'd like to have at least one leg done. And if I get the color in, that'll be enough to give you an inkling of what's going on. I want basically to show individual hairs. It's a shame that I have to do this as quickly as I'm doing it. I'll show the back leg darker. This is his hind leg. We'll get that in right now. You can see that. So we'll get that in right now. The back of his, his back is, the color of his hair is much more vibrant. So I'm going to use a brown in addition to the existing brown. It's a little bit more open there. So let's see what happens. If I could have this really vibrant, it'd be kind of cool. I still want it to bounce out against the background. So I'm going to try to make it lighter no matter what. And I think it will, because the very nature of the color I use in the background, it's got a metallic glow to it. And the color I'm using on the dog is kind of a stable, fixed color. It doesn't have the shine. It has a normal difference. And that alone is going to make a contrast. All right, if I could just get the colors in, I'll be happy. All right, here we go. We're going to go crazy with the colors. Blend them in. We'll put individual hairs as we go along, but right now I'm putting a background in. You'll see once I develop individual hairs why I jumped to this conclusion first. Now, this is the part where we have to jump the gun a bit. I'm putting in just a normal assortment of color in. We'll put individual shots of hair as we go along. Studio must be awful warm today because the paint is drying before I put it on the canvas. That's one of the pitfalls of drawing live or painting live. Things like this happen. The studio lights are very dry. They make the paint just simply suck up on the canvas. Dries right there. I'm putting a background color in. Nice and kind of a tannish color. And we're almost at the end of our program. I want to thank everybody for watching. Louis was here actually before the filming, but he's camera shy. So he's also very scared of the studio. It's dark. And he would not make a very good model. He's also about 6 months older than the photographs I took of him. The summer sun has made his hair lighter. He's also grown about 6 inches since I took these photographs. So he's still gregarious and he's still Louis. He's a handful. He's still got a personality that doesn't quit. Like I said, I paint anything. I will paint any subject on earth. I like, basically, though, I take my own photographs. I'd rather work from my own photographs. I don't like working from somebody else's photographs. They're usually limited. Don't show the personality. Don't show the mood of the dog or the person. I'd rather work from that. All right, we're getting to the point where I could actually put in some follicles on my own. But I have a nice yellow-ish background.